Once upon a time, there was a young woman named Maya. She had a small business making handmade jewelry and put her heart into her work, creating beautiful pieces that her customers loved. Despite her success, Maya wanted her business to grow more. She knew she needed to learn about running a business. So when she heard about a big business summit in the city, she eagerly signed up. The summit was a grand event in a large convention center. People from all over the country attended, and many successful speakers were scheduled to share their knowledge. One of these speakers was a handsome man named Jordan. He had built a successful tech company and was well respected in the business community. As Jordan spoke on stage, he noticed a young woman near the front, listening intently and taking notes. Her determination and curiosity caught his attention. He was charmed by her focus and beauty and tried to make eye contact with her as he spoke. During the break, Jordan sought out this intriguing woman. He walked through the crowded lobby and finally spotted her near the refreshment table. Gathering his courage, he approached her with a warm smile. "Hi there," he said, extending his hand. "I'm Jordan. I noticed you were really engaged during the talk. What's your name?" Maya looked up, surprised and flattered. "Hello, I'm Maya," she replied, shaking his hand. "Your talk was really inspiring. I learned a lot." Jordan and Maya quickly fell into a lively conversation about their passions, dreams, and businesses. Jordan was impressed by Maya's dedication and creativity, while Maya admired his wisdom and experience. They felt a strong connection and exchanged phone numbers before the break ended. Over the next few weeks, Jordan and Maya started dating. They spent a lot of time together, learning about each other's lives and dreams. Jordan was captivated by Maya's kindness and intelligence, and Maya was drawn to his confidence and generosity. They quickly realized they were falling in love. Jordan took Maya to his favorite spots around the city. They enjoyed picnics in the park, visits to art galleries, and cozy dinners at small restaurants. Each day deepened their bond, and they felt they had found their perfect match. One sunny afternoon, while strolling through a charming bookstore, Jordan shared more about his childhood. He pointed out books he read with his mother, and shared stories about his father's passing, and how it had brought him and his mother closer. "My mom and I have always been a team," Jordan said, smiling. "Losing my dad was tough, but it made our bond stronger. She's done so much for me, and I try to give back to her." Maya listened with empathy, understanding how important Mrs. Brown was to Jordan. She admired his dedication to his mother, but worried about whether Mrs. Brown would like her. After a month of dating, Jordan decided to introduce Maya to his mother, Mrs. Brown. Jordan was her only child, and she had always been protective of him. She was proud of his success and loved him deeply. When Jordan brought Maya to his mother's house for the first time, Mrs. Brown was not pleased. She had always had her son to herself, and sharing him made her uneasy. She was polite but distant, and Maya sensed the tension. Jordan had always been generous with his mother, buying her a beautiful house and sending her flowers every Wednesday. Mrs. Brown was used to his undivided attention and didn't like the idea of someone else taking that away. She began to suspect that Maya was only interested in Jordan's money. Despite Mrs. Brown's coldness, Maya remained kind and understanding. She knew how much Jordan loved his mother and didn't want to come between them. She tried to win Mrs. Brown's approval, but nothing seemed to change her mind. Jordan sensed the tension, but hoped things would improve. He knew his mother was wary of new people, especially those close to him. He believed that with time, she would see how wonderful Maya was. One evening, Jordan took Maya to dinner by the riverside. As the sun set, he held her hand and looked into her eyes. "Maya, I know my mother can be difficult. She's had a tough life and is very protective of me. But I love you, and I want us to build a life together. Will you marry me?" Maya's eyes filled with tears of joy. "Yes, Jordan. Yes, I will marry you." Jordan slipped a beautiful ring onto her finger, and they embraced, both overjoyed and hopeful for their future. They began planning their wedding with excitement. However, Mrs. Brown was not happy about the engagement. She tried to hide her displeasure, but it was clear to both Jordan and Maya that she was not supportive. She kept her distance, attending only a few pre-wedding events and remaining silent during most conversations about the big day. The wedding was beautiful, filled with joy and love. Friends and family gathered to celebrate Jordan and Maya. Mrs. Brown attended but remained distant and aloof. Maya's friends and family noticed her behavior but focused on the happy couple. After they got married, Mrs. Brown demanded that Jordan continue having dinner with her every Wednesday and sending her flowers. She also insisted on spending weekends at their house, claiming she was lonely. Maya, wanting to keep the peace, agreed to all of Mrs. Brown's demands, believing that over time she would come to accept her. However, Mrs. Brown's behavior became increasingly difficult to tolerate. She made snide remarks about Maya's background and questioned her motives for marrying Jordan. She constantly demanded Jordan's attention, leaving Maya feeling isolated and hurt. Despite this, Maya remained patient and kind, hoping Mrs. Brown would see how much she loved Jordan. One harsh day, Mrs. Brown visited Maya and Jordan's home. She scrutinized every detail of the house Maya had decorated with love. She picked up a family photo and sighed dramatically. "Jordan, dear, don't you think this place feels different? It doesn't have the same warmth as our old home?" Mrs. Brown said, her eyes cold as they met Maya's. Jordan frowned, feeling the tension rise. "Mom, Maya and I have made this place our own. It's our home now." Maya forced a smile. "Mrs. Brown, I tried to incorporate elements from your old home to make it feel familiar. If there's anything specific you'd like, I'd be happy to add it." Mrs. Brown ignored her, turning to Jordan. "Well, it's just not the same, but I suppose I'll have to get used to it." Jordan tried to balance his love for Maya and loyalty to his mother, but it was becoming harder. He could see how much his mother's words hurt Maya, and it tore him apart. One day, Mrs. Brown attended a Mother's Day lunch with a friend. At the lunch, a mother and daughter were the guest speakers. They shared a heartwarming story about their relationship. The mother spoke about how grateful she was for her daughter-in-law and the joy they shared. As Mrs. Brown listened, she felt shame wash over her. She realized how unfair and cruel she had been to Maya, who had shown her kindness and respect. She thought about all the mean things she had said and felt deeply remorseful. After the lunch, Mrs. Brown went straight to Jordan and Maya's house. She knocked on the door, her heart pounding. When they opened the door, they were surprised to see her standing there, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Brown sobbed. I've been horrible to you, Maya. I've let my jealousy and fear blind me to how wonderful you are. Can you ever forgive me? Maya felt compassion for Mrs. Brown. She stepped forward and embraced her mother-in-law. Of course, I forgive you, she said gently. We all make mistakes. What matters is that you're here now, ready to make things right. Jordan hugged his mother too, relieved that the tension might finally be resolved. We love you, Mom, he said, and we want you to be a part of our lives. But we need to build our own family too. Can you accept that? Mrs. Brown nodded, still crying. I understand now. I'll do my best to change and be the mother-in-law you deserve, Maya. From that day on, Mrs. Brown made a conscious effort to change. She stopped making demands and started showing genuine interest in Maya's life and business. She even offered to help with the jewelry business, using her experience and connections to support her. As time went on, Mrs. Brown and Maya developed a close bond. They spent time together, sharing stories, cooking, and working on new jewelry designs. Mrs. Brown came to see Maya as the daughter she never had, and Maya appreciated having a mother figure in her life. Jordan was overjoyed to see the two most important women in his life getting along. The tension that had once overshadowed their home was replaced with love and harmony. They became a true family, supporting and loving each other unconditionally. The moral of the story is that love and kindness can overcome misunderstandings. It's important to be open-hearted and forgiving, just like Maya. Sometimes people need time to understand and change. By being patient and loving, we can help others see the good in everyone. This story reminds us that everyone deserves a chance to change, and that true love and compassion can heal even the deepest wounds. Thank you for watching. God bless you.